Members of the House and Senate, members of the audience, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Kumu Kaleo Trinidad.
It's with great aloha and ha'aha'a that I stand before you to do several things in this aha. The first is a call out, a mele, that calls to all of our people from Hawaiʻi moko Keawe to Ni'ihau Wakahelelani. The second is a pikai olena, which blesses all that is said and done here today. And the last is a mele and a pule of blessing and of welcome.
Ki e o Hawaiʻi luna o ke kai o ale nui haha, holono o Maui ke kai o alala ke iki. He ke iki o ka hoʻolawea kanaloa nā no I kuhi kuhi ke ala I ka hiki. Hiki na e akula I lana I ke kai o au au. Au aku ia pai lolo ai ala o molo ka ie. A ka iwi ke kai ha nupa nupa. Upua e ka mana o I ka pohula I o ahu. Ahu wale o kaua I mai ke kai o ka ie waho. Ma waho kaula kahi I ke ia ka ehu kai o ni I hau e. Hau oli loa au I ka nani e pāhola ia mai. Mai ka ia he molele ka maluhia o nā kai e walu. Ua I ke a aloha kākou e. O pali uli ai nā huhu nā tāne. O ka ai nā I kalana I haulai I ka hiki ku. I ka pā ua tāne. O ka aina I kumu, I lali. Aina ai nui a te atua. He ole ka pu'unui. A polo lei ka hele atu ana I muai. O huau no veo ula tupua o te aali. Po lena ha lena I tawa Lei ia e ke ho kalu nu a o te uki. No puki uki ka maka o ke ko olau. Ku mau hoa tai au lo lalo o lalo ho ki vai atana haulu I kahi mea iki huna. Maka hunai me he highlight pili o whoever He mai komo mai e. Aloha.
Thank you very much, Kumu. Will the joint session of the 32nd Legislature please come to order? Before receiving the governor's message, I would like to recognize some of our honored guests. First, Lieutenant Governor Kim Yo-jong. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of Kim Jong-un's sister. Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke. Senate President Ronald D. Kochi. Chief Justice Mark E. Rechtenwald. Ms. Carmen Hulu Lindsay, Chair of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And we have some other distinguished guests with us here in the chamber this morning. Jamie Green, wife of Governor Josh Green. Michael Luke, husband of Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke. Congresswoman Jill Tokuda. Former Governor George Ariyoshi and Mrs. Jean Ariyoshi. Former Governor John Wahe'e and Mrs. Lynn Wahe'e. Former Governor Ben Cayetano and Mrs. Vicky Cayetano. Former Governor Linda Lingle. Former Governor Neil Abercrombie. And from the Hawaii Supreme Court, Associate Justice Sabrina McKenna. Associate Justice Todd Edens. And Associate Justice Vladimir Devens. From the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, Major General Mark Hashimoto. From the U.S. Army Pacific, Major General James J. Bartholomews. From the U.S. Pacific Fleet, Rear Admiral Mark Ruttenberg. From the 14th Coast Guard District, Rear Admiral Michael H. Day. From the U.S. Navy Region Hawaii, Rear Admiral Stephen Barnett. From the U.S. Pacific Allied Forces, Colonel David J. Birkeland. From the U.S. Space Force, Colonel Stephen A. Toth. From the City and County of Honolulu, Mayor Rick Blangiardi. From the County of Hawaii, Mayor Mitch Roth. From the County of Maui, Mayor Richard Bisson. From the Honolulu City Council, Council Chair Tommy Waters. From the Hawaii County Council, Council Chair Heather Kimball. From the Maui County Council, Council Vice Chair Yukilei Sugimura. From the Kauai County Council, Council Vice Chair Kipakai Kuali'i. Consul General of Japan and Dean of the Consular Corps, Mr. Yoshinori Kodama. From the Consul of Australia, Mr. Bradley Wood. Consul General of the Philippines, Mr. Emil T. Fernandez. Consul General of the Republic of Korea, Seo Young Lee. Vice Consul of the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Mr. Calvin Miyazoe. And Deputy Director of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, Ms. Nicole Wang. The Chair hereby appoints the following legislators to escort the Honorable Josh Green, Governor of the State of Hawaii, to the rostrum. On behalf of the House, Representative Nadine Nakamura and Representative Lauren Matsumoto, And on behalf of the Senate, Senator Michelle Kidani and Senator Drew Kanuha. The chair hereby requests the following legislators to present leave to the governor on behalf of the House, Representative Dee Morikawa, and on behalf of the Senate, Senator Lorraine Inouye. Members of the 32nd Legislature, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our extending our warmest aloha and welcome to the Governor of the State of Hawaii, the Honorable Josh Green.
Jamie, Lieutenant Governor, Speaker, Senate President, colleagues, governors, mayors, consul generals, CJ dignitaries, cabinet members who have been so wonderful, state leaders, and all the people of Hawaii, aloha. Our state suffered a tragic and devastating loss when fires swept through Lahaina and other areas of Maui. I'd like to take a moment to honor the memory of those we lost that day, August 8th, 2023. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor them. Mahalo. I want to express a heartfelt mahalo to everyone who has helped and supported the survivors of this tragedy and their families over the last 5.5 months. People have been so brave in the face of tough times. I also want to say I respect those who have pressed us to do more to help those in need. It's been an extraordinary and humbling experience to serve as your governor over the past year, and Jamie and I are deeply grateful for your support and encouragement. Today, I'm here to report that, although we've faced great challenges and suffered even greater loss over the past year, we have come together as one ohana to recover and to heal. I am here to report that the state of Hawaii is strong. First, response to the Maui fires. We lost 100 of our loved ones in the fire, and the lives of thousands more were changed that day. Hurricane-force winds fanned fires over the islands of Maui and Hawaii, causing the worst natural disaster in our state's history. Words cannot adequately describe the devastation caused by the fires, and it scorched thousands of our acres and destroyed nearly all of Lahaina. At this moment, I want to recognize Maui Mayor Bisson, whose strength in the face of this disaster has been most admirable. Please stand, Mayor. Two of the brave Maui firefighters are also here with us today, Kiahiho and Koa Banel. Please stand so we can recognize you and all of your fellow firefighters who put yourselves in harm's way. Chief of Police Pelletier, who can't be with us today, who is working, was alongside the firefighters and the first responders, and he led his police force into the disaster area to help rescue people. Few people other than the survivors from Lahaina can fully understand what it was like that day on the ground for police and firefighters. We are honored to know you. One more round of applause for these heroes. These men and women knew what they were facing when they went into the fire. Many knew that their own homes would be destroyed, and some didn't know if their family were safe. So that's what they were facing, and they went in anyway. What they did was so truly heroic, I don't know if there are ever words that will be able to capture that. And then communities across our state quickly joined together in support of the thousands of displaced survivors. Archie Kalepa and his ohana were among the very first to mobilize community members across Maui. Archie, you're also one of our heroes. Please stand. Another individual stepped up more than anyone could possibly imagine, and that was Chad Buck and his ohana. I've never witnessed such generosity in my life and the kindness that you brought to this disaster. Please stand and be recognized, Chad. The entire hotel community on Maui, including Jeff Wagner, Jerry Gibson, and my dear friend Mufi Hahnemann, thank you for stepping up when our community needed you the most to house people who had been displaced. Mahalo for your incredible work. As these heroes worked on the fire, our state agencies, including HIEMA, the Department of Education, Health, Human Services, all began immediately working alongside FEMA and Maui County with the Red Cross to provide meals, temporary housing, and new schools, as well as supportive services for the disaster relief program, which included financial recovery, medical and mental health care, which was so critically important. Concerned citizens and organizations such as the Hawaii Community Foundation, the Red Cross, CNHA, and so many others immediately mobilized donation drives and brought tens of millions of dollars to the effort. It poured in from all over the world. So working with these partners in the first 2 weeks after August 8th, we relocated 8,000 of our displaced people into hotel rooms and condos across Maui. In a few short months, we've already dispersed over hundreds of millions of dollars of housing assistance to those who need it and were affected. And this is just the beginning of the effort. Disasters as severe as this one can take years to recover from. I'm especially grateful to other individuals that have become local leaders and were already in our midst helping our state for years in the past. These individuals right now I'd like to recognize are Micah Kane and Kuhio Lewis. Let's give them a round of applause. Mike and Kuhio have been providing inspiring leadership alongside all of our government. And then to date, FEMA has registered over 17,000 survivors for services and will begin to provide them the long-term housing that they need, 18 to 24 months of rental assistance, well into 2025. The American Red Cross also, in full partnership with us, is currently helping to house over 2,300 families, more than 5,000 individuals in more than 30 hotels across Maui. It is a team effort. As governor, I authorized an additional $100 million from Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF monies, to match what others were donating, effectively doubling the power of public contributions to help those affected families pay for housing, transportation, food, clothing, and any need that arose. Because the legislature stepped up, we also provided relief to local businesses in the form of emergency grants to be distributed by the Maui Economic Opportunity Team aimed at preventing bankruptcies. So working with House and Senate leaders and in partnership with Maui County, we made $12.5 million available in the form of grants of up to $20,000 each to help local businesses survive and recover. What does this all mean? The road to recovery will be long. Healing will take time. It's going to take courage and commitment from all of us, but we will get there as we come together as an ohana to help and support the Maui community. Now let's discuss the immediate recovery efforts on Maui. We've set aside up to $600 million in the budget for recovery costs that will continue well into 2027. I've worked with President Biden and his administration directly to ensure that federal funds will pay for 100% of debris removal and emergency protective measures in the disaster areas for 6 and 12 months respectively, support which will save us hundreds of millions of dollars as we recover. In November, we brought a coalition together additionally to create the Maui Recovery Fund, which will rapidly provide funds to families who have lost a loved one or have been severely injured in the fires. Participation in this fund, as I've shared before, will be completely voluntary. The goal is to get as much money as possible to affected families as quickly as possible. We've already secured $175 million for the fund from our initial partners, including the state, Maui County, Kamehameha Schools, Hawaiian Electric, Charter Communications, and Hawaii Telcom. In order to operationalize this fund, we have pro bono services from First Hawaiian Bank and other community-minded professionals, leaders across the country who dealt, for example, with 9/11. And we expect to have this fund set up and running by March 1st to offer support to the families in Maui who've lost so much. Now, most central on the people's minds in Maui is housing. So now let's discuss the Maui Interim Housing Plan. Earlier this month, we announced the Maui Interim Housing Plan, a $500 million initiative to create a pool of more than 3,000 housing units for at least 18 months to house those who've been displaced by the fires. This collaborative effort brings together the state, the County of Maui, the Hawaii Community Foundation, and at Micah's lead, CNHA with Kuhio at the helm, FEMA, and the Red Cross, with the goal of moving all displaced families, from short-term hotels into long-term housing by July 1st, with most households moving in by March 1st, just a few weeks away. Thank you. Now here's where I have to make a humble appeal to people all across the state and the country. Every owner of a short-term rental property on Maui, please join us today in our mission to house the Lahaina families who've been displaced by the disaster. They are part of our ohana, and right now we need your help to care for them. Let me break down how it is on Maui. There are 27,000 short-term rental units on that island alone. And if we can dedicate just 10% of these homes for displaced Lahaina families, we can house everyone. We'll cover the fair market value of each rental for 2 years. We'll also provide the property tax exemption that the mayor and his council very, very thoughtfully passed just weeks ago to give an exemption from property tax for 18 months to house those who participate. This is the right thing to do, and I urge everyone out there to join us in offering their homes, if they can, to house our people. Now, if not enough partners step forward to join us as we approach March 1st, believe me when I say this, I'm going to put our people first, and I will be forced to declare a moratorium on all short-term rentals in West Maui until we find enough housing for the displaced families. If you want to participate in this program, you can email us today. Email us at mauihousing2024 at fema.dhs.gov to join in this effort. I'm going to say it again. Maui Housing 2024 at fema.dhs.gov to join us in this effort. It is critically important we care for people and put them in housing. Now, in addition to the $250 million that FEMA put up immediately for rental assistance and to rent many of these units, they're currently in the process of leasing up to 1,500 homes for survivors. As of Friday, they were at 1,367, and that is a testament to the great work that Bob Fenton has done with his team. They're also planning and designing 2 housing sites on Maui to house up to 500 additional families. This operation alone totals $450 million additional dollars from the federal government to help our people. In many cases, I don't think they're recognized enough, so I'd like to recognize Deanne Criswell, who's the leader at FEMA, and Bob Fenton, the big guy over here to my left, who's been a great working partner. Please stand, Bob. I thought he was already standing. In the coming weeks, in addition to all of this work, the first shipment of modular transitional homes will begin to arrive in Maui as a part of our Department of Human Services efforts and their housing initiative. We will add an additional 480 units right away to help provide our people with a sense of stability and security as we implement further long-term housing plans that I've been describing. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to remove the debris in West Maui. We'll do it safely and respectfully. And the plan is to listen to the people of Lahaina and rebuild the way they want us to rebuild. Now I'd like to pivot to affordable housing statewide. Even before the fires on Maui, our state faced an urgent shortage of affordable housing. Housing costs in Hawaii are among the most expensive in the nation. Our state is such a desirable destination and such a profitable investment for so many that people from around the world have purchased property to hold as investments or rent as short-term rentals to visitors, making on average, and these are individuals who invest, 4 times what they would if they rented the property simply to one of our local families. Right now, 52% of all short-term rentals in Hawaii are owned by non-state residents, and 27% of short-term rental owners own 20 or more units. Take a minute to digest that. 52% of all short-term rentals are rented by people outside of Hawaii, and making 4 times as much as if they were renting to someone that we love who lost a home. Now, our housing crisis affects not only low-income families because there are so few houses, but it also affects middle-class residents who earn too much to qualify for any help, but too little to afford to buy or rent in this current housing market. Local families are being squeezed out of our housing market as 30-year mortgages approach 7%, and the median home prices are absolutely way too high for most. The process of building homes, which we're all committed to, has become so complicated and costly in our state over the last 3 decades, fraught with unnecessary bureaucracy, impossible permitting processes, and prohibitive zoning rules, that we had to take immediate action. Now, to do that, I signed the emergency proclamation relating to housing on July 17th last year, and I appreciate your patience. This proclamation formed a committee of our state's leading housing experts, and it empowered them to cut through the red tape and approve new housing projects more quickly and easily. We immediately approved 10,800 new units of low-income housing for struggling families. And now we've turned our attention to approve affordable housing projects in urban Honolulu and along the growing rail. Now, make no mistake, I know I ruffled a few feathers when we took this action, but we have to provide housing for our local people. So in October, I listened to the environmental leaders across our state and issued an updated proclamation relating to affordable housing, allowing us to build more affordable housing while protecting precious natural and cultural resources, preserving the process, and preserving the unique character of all of Hawaii. I'm grateful for their input. And since then, we've begun to reform our housing bureaucracy. We've approved or accelerated multiple new projects, and we'll bring thousands of homes to teachers, nurses, firefighters, working families all across our state in the coming years. Now, our supplemental budget for fiscal year 2025 alone places an emphasis on infrastructure and housing with requests to the legislature of up to $373 million. This remains our administration's top statewide priority. But we have to have an honest moment here. Building alone will not solve our housing crisis. We need to find new ways to make buying or renting a home more affordable in Hawaii. We have to take further action to return the thousands of short-term rentals that I mentioned earlier to the local housing market. A challenge of this magnitude will require multiple solutions and approaches. There is no silver bullet. Now, what can we do? Greater enforcement of the laws we have regulating short-term rental markets are important. Tighter restrictions and tax changes are likely necessary, and emergency measures that we've been taking will be impactful. All of these can and should bring to bear the necessary sanity we have to have for our local long-term housing market for our own residents. Today, I'm humbly calling on my colleagues here at the legislature to help us by implementing new policies and reforms which will return our housing units to the long-term rental market for our people. This will increase supply and bring down prices in our local market, which is artificially and unfairly inflated by the global demand from visitors to our state. I will sign into law any bill the legislature sends to me that will help move short-term rentals and vacant investment properties owned by non-residents into our local housing market. This will increase supply and bring down costs for our families. In addition to this effort, my team has crafted what we feel will be a landmark piece of legislation, and I want to explain it to you right now. This piece of legislation will provide tax amnesty to any owner of a short-term rental who chooses to sell it to help us with our housing crisis. A sale of this kind to an owner-occupier local family or to someone who turns the home into a long-term rental for a local family will be exempted from capital gains tax, conveyance tax, and general excise tax. This program we're calling House Hawaii's Ohana is a plan that would start in the fall, when you give it to me, and last 24 months. During this tax amnesty period, I'll personally encourage short-term rental owners from around the world to sell their properties back to Hawaii families. Let's talk a little bit about the cost of living. Families in our state struggle to make ends meet. Despite working multiple jobs, more are living paycheck to paycheck than even before the pandemic. 44% of all families in our state are Alice families, barely getting by, and 63% of all Hawaiian families fall into the same category. Say that again. 44% of all of Hawaii's families are living paycheck to paycheck, and 63% of all of our Hawaiian families are falling into this category. This has to change. The cost of living in Hawaii is simply too high, especially the cost of buying or renting a home. There's still too many local families who are moving to Vegas to seek affordable housing, lower cost of living. We have to find additional ways to reduce the cost of housing, food, healthcare, and really just make all of Hawaii more affordable for our people. I'm grateful for what the legislature did last year. In last year's legislative session, we introduced and passed phase 1 of our affordability plan, which in the first year alone provided $104 million per year in direct income tax relief to Hawaii's Alice families. This phase one of the tax relief package supported working families by doubling essentially the earned income tax credit and our food tax credit. That was great work by Speaker and Senate President and all of you. The next phase of our plan, however, we need to go further and provide more tax relief for families that are struggling, including a child-dependent tax credit totaling about $87 million annually. Why is this important? It's important so that working families with keiki can afford to live in Hawaii and so that the next generation will have a future here. We're also planning through our proposals to index the state's tax code to provide all taxpayers some modest relief from inflation. We have to do this, it's long overdue, and this change will help people in every tax bracket, which I think will benefit all the families of Hawaii. So, in summary there, it's critically important that in this legislative session we move forward with this next phase of our Green Affordability Plan to further relieve the tax burden across the board. Now I'd like to share what I feel about tourism and the economy. The rapid return of visitors to our islands, along with the influx of federal funds, helped Hawaii and our economy surge after the initial impact of the COVID pandemic. Hawaii's unemployment rate, you'll recall, spiked to 22.6%. At the beginning of the pandemic. And it's decreased and stabilized since, down at 2.9%, which is a testament to small business in our state. As of October last year, that's where we landed. This is the lowest rate of unemployment since the pandemic. But with the closure of Maui to tourism after August 8th, I was very concerned that the aftermath of the fires would devastate Maui County's economy, as well as impact our entire state's economy for all of the families that we have. Thousands of jobs, small businesses were at stake on Maui, and I know this was difficult. It was an incredibly difficult decision to allow hotels to reopen while many who had been impacted by the wildfires still lacked permanent housing. People were concerned that reopening was too soon, while many others believed that moving towards recovery was absolutely necessary. Most people felt the need to get back to work so their families could survive. But all I can tell you is this: I care deeply about every family in Hawaii. I listen to people's concerns, and I'm sensitive about their fears. But sometimes a governor has to make certain decisions that are tough and truly necessary for the health of our entire state. In conjunction with the County of Maui, we began a phased reopening of West Maui on October 8th. Currently, historic Lahaina, the town and surrounding areas, of course, remain closed out of respect for residents and due to the continuing relief efforts. But the rest of Maui and our state is open. As a result of that decision, as difficult as it was, just 2 weeks ago, the Council on Revenues readjusted our economic projection up from 1.3% growth to 4% growth. This adds almost $500 million of revenue to our state so that we can take on the greatest challenges together, all of which will arise and revolve around housing our people and our survivors on Maui. That's why we made those decisions. And I just wanted to tell you from my heart, that's how we came to that decision together. It has been a roller coaster ride since COVID, with the economy rising and falling and the crisis. And I know that that's made your jobs extremely difficult, including appropriations and plans for the future. Last year, I made some budget cuts through line item vetoes. I hope I did it respectfully enough, saving us over $1 billion across the next 2 fiscal years. We were able to balance our budget, and more importantly, I believe, to preserve our entire $1.5 billion rainy day funds. Now these cuts, plus the positive projections for our economy, will now allow us to invest more in critical issues like access to health care, affordable housing, and homelessness. So thank you very much for understanding those tough moments. Homelessness. Just over a year ago, when we came into office, we faced the second highest per capita homeless rate in the country. A 2023 census of our homeless community found that 6,223 people in our state were living without a home. Our state's rate of homelessness of 43 per 10,000 is more than double the national rate of 18 per 10,000 for many reasons. Many in our homeless community struggle with mental illness and addiction. And of course, they suffer on the streets and face a much shorter lifespan, averaging only 53 years. Our team took immediate action with your guidance to reduce homelessness with real solutions. And I've made it our goal to reduce homelessness by 50% within 4 years. Now, on January 23rd last year, Right at this State of the State address, I signed an emergency proclamation on homelessness to cut through some of the red tape that was preventing the much-needed action we had to take, allowing us to begin rapid construction of up to 20 Kauhale villages statewide in the coming years. For those who haven't heard before, Kauhale are communal villages, modest housing units in them for homeless individuals and small households. They provide shared space for cooking, eating, and recreation, growing food, or engaging community activities together. When a person's in a Kauhale, their suffering drops, their lifespan increases back to normal, and their cost drops 70%. This is the reason it's both smart fiscally and the right humanitarian action to take. In May, we opened the medical respite Kauhale, Palama Ola, in partnership with Project Vision and HomeAid to care for the homeless on our streets as they were coming out from the hospitals as patients recently discharged. Located literally in my backyard between the state capitol, Queens, Department of Health, and Washington Place, we placed Palama Ola, and it was a great success. We expect several new Kauhale to open in the coming months, including one just down the street. I will tell you that Kauhale are going to revolutionize how we deal with homelessness. And right now, I'd like to recognize Project Vision's leader, Dara Kauhane, and HomeAid's director, Kimo Carvalho, along with all the great people on their teams. We couldn't do this without you. Please stand and be recognized, guys. Where are you? I'd like to also again thank the legislature for approving $15 million last session for Kauhale and $33 million this year. It was very thoughtful. Thank you for that. We extend our deepest mahalos to James Koshiba, Nani, and all the others who led this effort with such heart and thoughtfulness over the last year. And now we place our trust in John Mizuno, a friend and legislative colleague. Where's John? There he is. House, you can kick the crap out of Mizuno now in my administration as you wish. He's joining me and our administration after decades of friendship and commitment. I can't wait to see this mission completed with John at our side. Thank you for sharing him with us. So as we continue to invest in permanent solutions that create spaces for our people to be housed and healed, you're going to see the results of it. So thank you again, everyone. You've been amazing in that front. Now let's turn to healthcare. For years, our state has struggled with a severe shortage of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. So on September 9th, we announced a groundbreaking loan repayment program to address this crisis. Developed by JABSM, the Healthcare Association of Hawaii, and Hilton, State Department of Health, and my team, and funded by you, the Hawaii Education Loan Repayment Program, or HELP, provides now an unprecedented $30 million over these first 2 years of educational loan repayment to health professionals to bring them to and keep them in Hawaii. Now, why do we do this and who does it help? A diverse list of healthcare professionals qualify for loan repayment in our state of up to $50,000 per year. Some who owe $400,000 or $500,000 of debt in exchange for a minimum service of 2 years, while they're getting into practice and caring for the patients that need them the most. And so these scholarships are targeted to providers who care for those who are low-income patients, usually on Medicaid. The scholars alone in our first batch, and we've received thousands of applications, will touch 750,000 of our citizens because of your wisdom in passing this legislation and funding it. We've already received, like I said, thousands of applications with deep ties to our state. This is just weeks into its initial stage, and we've already announced our first 585 HELP healthcare champions. As I listened to the concerns of the large freshman class coming in, they were focusing on mental health care, as we all have been worried about for so long. So this year, we're placing an extra emphasis on selecting mental health care and addiction treatment professionals to address the heightened concerns we've seen and have arisen since the COVID era and the disaster on Maui. This initiative will help ensure that rural and underserved communities across our state have access to the healthcare providers that they need. And within 5 years, Hawaii will be the only state in the nation without a shortage of doctors, nurses, or social workers. Again, an initiative of this sort helps to bring an end to the healthcare disparities that many of our communities have suffered for too long. A few days ago, I met a young doctor who shared with me that she's about to complete her training in pediatric psychiatry. Because she received the HELP scholarship, she'll be able to begin her career in Hawaii and settle here for good. Now, she grew up in Hawaii and is still with her high school sweetheart. And now she'll be able to deliver a lifetime of care to local families instead of moving to the mainland to practice medicine. Last year, we also strengthened our healthcare system by investing hundreds of millions of dollars in needed improvements in rural facilities across the islands. These investments also will help us extend our commitment to care for historically underserved communities and those who suffer health disparities. And I'd personally like to thank the WAM chair and the FIN chair for making that possible. Thank you, guys. You were wonderful. In summary, lots of communities need help, but the Native Hawaiian community has been most likely to experience chronic disease 10 years earlier and passing away an average of 8 years earlier, a shorter lifespan compared to other populations. So as we pass these programs, we are addressing past injustices and ongoing disparities that impact our Native Hawaiian community. This will also be partnered with the work that we're doing with Department of Hawaiian Homelands, which the legislature saw fit to approve $600 million, and speed the provision of homestead lands to thousands of Native Hawaiian beneficiaries. Housing and healthcare go hand in hand. Thank you for that extraordinary work. Let's talk briefly about gun violence. Gun violence has been a growing problem in Hawaii and across the country. The tragic shooting of 17-year-old Richiana de Guzman moved us to take greater action. We hosted our state's first significant gun buyback event in decades on October 21st of last year, and it was an unprecedented success. In just a few hours, the Department of Law Enforcement and Public Safety got almost 500 firearms off of our streets in exchange for Foodland gift cards, with no questions asked, no ID required. Thank you. It was something to behold. We collected ghost guns, sawed-off shotguns, semi-automatic weapons. We collected an Uzi from the streets, and I've asked the directors of these departments to continue holding gun buyback events on a regular basis to get more guns off of our streets. This initiative, along with our commitment to creating safe places from guns and signing key firearm legislation, will make our community safer and protect our keiki from deadly violence. But it didn't stop at that one tragedy. Gun violence reared its ugly head again just weeks ago when a disturbed individual, a felon, shot a woman and then went on an island-wide rampage that seriously wounded 2 of our brave police officers, both of whom thankfully will survive. We must do more to protect our communities from the threat of violence from those who have no business possessing firearms. I will not let this issue divide us. It means taking lots of action on both sides of the political ideology. It means incarcerating violent criminals, preventing unstable people from having guns in the first place, and finally providing much more healthcare access to those suffering mental illness or drug addiction, which is too often linked to such tragedies. Thank you for helping me protect our keiki. Education. Our commitment to public education was demonstrated with your support this past April when we successfully negotiated a new 4-year contract with Hawaii teachers and the 13,500 that they represent. This contract, which was the first thing we prioritized, was important. It provided substantial pay raises for new hires and bonuses for experienced professional teachers. And it's paid dividends already. I want you to understand how successful it's been. We are now seeing far fewer teachers retire and far fewer teachers leaving the classroom, We slashed the teacher shortage by more than 50% in a single year. Investing in education will help our keiki to succeed, so we've requested more than $125 million to support Hawaii's public schools. We thank the education chairs with our full heartfelt appreciation, because you're including substantial funding for the Department of Education. And it's not just the classroom, it's also food service and transportation. All of this is education for our keiki. So I want to thank you, and now I want to take a moment to commend someone else. I want to take a moment to commend Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke for her extraordinary work on early education. Please stand, Sylv. Many people across our state ask me to partner with and utilize our Lieutenant Governor's talent and capacity as a real partner, and I took that advice to heart. We are friends, and we're colleagues, and the work she's doing to make preschool available to all of Hawaii's young children will have a profoundly positive impact on our state for generations to come. Thank you, LG. Your great work on this and many other initiatives is recognized and critical. Let's turn our attention to climate change and the environment. As caretakers of our islands, we're committed across the board to pursuing climate change strategies that are equitable and culturally responsible. Hawaii must continue to invest in a sustainable culture, renewable energy, and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. This is why I joined the U.S. Climate Alliance, a bipartisan coalition of 25 governors securing America's net zero future by advancing state-led, high-impact climate action. Now, we have to do more to protect our beaches in Hawaii and our parks and our natural treasures from extreme weather, which is fueled by climate change, without raising taxes or fees on Hawaii residents. Let me talk to you about how I hope we can do this. This responsibility to protect Hawaii's unique natural environment should extend to visitors to our islands. We've had some discussion about this, and I'm excited about this session coming up. A climate impact fee on visitors would provide needed resources to protect our environment and increase awareness of the impacts of climate change. This legislative session, I'll renew our efforts to pass a climate impact fee to help us stare down the terrible impacts of climate change. Last year it stalled a little bit, but imagine how helpful that program would have been to address the disaster on Maui had we had it. We need to do a little better this year, so today I'm simplifying the proposal and proposing a $25 fee on visitors when they arrive and check into a hotel or a short-term rental. We already collect fees from travelers. This modest fee, far less than the resort fees or other taxes visitors have paid for years, will generate approximately $68 million every year from visitors. We'll invest these funds the way you feel we should invest them. We'll invest them for beach preservation, for fire breaks, and other prevention measures to help avoid tragedies like the one we had last year on Maui. So I believe, in my heart, this is not too much to ask of visitors to our islands. Now I'm open to any other proposal that would achieve the same goals, including an increase in the transient accommodation tax. Don't have a heart attack, Jerry, or Mufi, or anyone. We'll find a way to compromise on these issues because, as you can see, we are here surrounded by everyone who cares about the state. Whether they have one position or another on an issue doesn't mean we don't come together. So we passed this fee to preserve our natural resources, our beaches, our forests, our waterfalls. This is an essential part of our culture and our way of life. This climate impact fee would help us protect them. So thank you for considering this proposal. I know it will help our state. Red Hill. We've already made important progress on draining the fuel from Red Hill so it can finally be shut down for good. The military began removing the fuel on October 16th, more than 5 months ahead of schedule. They've already drained 104 million gallons from the tanks, which is 99.5% of the total. Now, the goal of the Red Hill Task Force is to remove all of the fuel, and the last 0.5% of the fuel will be removed in the early months of next year. Then, we will close the facility permanently so that it never again poses a threat to our health or to the safety of our water. I need to say mahalo to every environmental advocate, engineer, public worker, everyone who helped us achieve this victory at Red Hill, including our congressional delegation who brought hundreds of millions of dollars to the effort. We're going to continue to take every necessary action to protect our precious natural resources, especially our water, and to hold those accountable who have threatened them fully in the past. So thank you, everyone, for coming together, and thank you, Speaker and Senate President, for bringing all of us together as one family on this issue. A few new opportunities. With the heavy focus this year on Maui's recovery, affordability, and housing, it will be easy to forget to mention other important opportunities for our state, which will help us diversify our economy. This year, we launched the Aloha Stadium proposals, finally. So we'll move forward on the stadium. We opened high-level discussions with Japan to create an open travel corridor between Japan and Hawaii. And we're actively seeking right now to expand our state's film industry with a greater emphasis on local production and developing our own kids to become film professionals. We'll invest in sustainable agriculture, as you saw with the action on Act 90, with a special thanks to Senator Lorraine Inouye, so that we can bring more food security to our state. And we'll also prioritize energy research and development with the goal of becoming a hydrogen hub someday in the future. We've already begun important discussions with some experts in Japan to partner with our own university and provide new pathways to fully sustainable energy state for our beautiful Hawaii. And then finally, our Board of Regents will select a new university president in 2024, and I will continue to rely on UH to help us drive economic innovation. These are important moments that we can all celebrate in the coming year. Finally, our path forward. We will never forget the day that the fires took our loved ones and changed the lives of so many on Maui. The people of Maui have shown strength in the face of adversity, but the days ahead will not be easy, and they will continue to need our support, and we will be there for them as long as it takes. Over the past 5.5 months, we've shown the rest of the country and the entire world the true spirit of aloha. That includes Saturday, when Archie Kalepa brought so many thousands of people together on Maui. We've come together around our shared values and a common purpose to support Maui as they begin to recover and heal, to house our people and to end homelessness, and finally to make life in Hawaii more affordable so that our next generation can build a future here at home. Again, I want to express my deepest gratitude to the people of Hawaii for your resilience and your commitment to each other. It is an honor to serve as your governor. Mahalo and aloha.
Thank you, Governor Green. I'd like to take the time to offer a few thank yous before adjourning. Last Wednesday, when I gave the remarks in the Senate chamber, I was a little overcome by the overflow crowd, the spirit, the optimism. And again, as I look at the floor here on the House of Representatives filled and the gallery full, I would be remiss if I didn't say to Speaker Saiki during the pandemic, thank you for the leadership he showed in putting together the 2 vaccination clinics with Dr. Green, Queens Hospital at the Blaisdell Center, and with Ray Vera of Hawaii Pacific Health, the largest vaccination center over at the pier, so that we have been able to achieve a lot of the numbers that the governor has talked about. Thank you. Before you guys get excited, I was sitting there watching the House present a lei to the Lieutenant Governor, to the Chief Justice, and to Chair Lindsay, and I got no lei. And I said, this is how rumors start. So I want to be clear, one of the cigar leis I'm wearing was presented to me as I was entering. In a loud voice, they said, welcome to the House of Representatives. So I did get my lei early, so the thank you is heartfelt, Speaker. And then I have just one more quick thank you, and I'll hit the gavel and we can all go about. Senator De La Cruz, whatever Oha wants. The last thank you is to Chad Buck. As everyone rallied in the state to come forward to help Maui, members of the legislature and our staffs put the word out for a collection at the Father Damien statue. And we were overwhelmed by the generosity of the people of Oahu. All of the area that you're sitting in, all of the area in the Senate chamber gallery, hallways in the basement, conference rooms were filled with the outpouring of love from the people of Hawaii. And Chad Buck sent his employees and his trucks to load everything that was collected and take it to the pier. On the other end, on Maui, his employees and trucks are waiting to take everything off of the pier and have it distributed. When Senators Kidani and De La Cruz put together a drive out in the Mililani area, he again deployed his employees, his trucks. Everything that he did, we had asked him to track and submit receipts, whether it was by the state of Hawaii, the county of Maui, or FEMA, to be reimbursed, and he did not submit a single receipt for reimbursement. It was his donation to the people of Maui and the people of Hawaii. Thank you, Chad, again. I don't know if Governor Green has a great lunch prepared, but I'm going to find out. I declare this joint session adjourned.
Well, you take care of him. That was awesome, man. That was beautiful. Seriously, just the right call.